be on
evening,
now.
everybody.
All right, excellent. So, interesting week.
So I'm Mike Doyle.
Hi, I'm Paul McCarthy. I don't even know, we haven't really been keeping track of the sheer number of episodes. We've been on 8-10 years now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think we started with YouTube.
I think the longest, ever since we got the Emmy, I think we've been out the longest running news and political show
in Brimfield
on YouTube ever. So I think we did okay.
We're there.
So we're there. All right. But for reality though is we just had a town election just yesterday.
Quite a good week for Brimfield.
Yep, absolutely. So what we thought we would do is go over the ballot and go over each individual position. Should we go ahead?
This one should be short and sweet. There's not a whole lot of new news. We went over the ATM, the town meeting last time.
Right.
We've been over the building project,
Right.
like I just asked you.
Yep.
Because I forgot. So really, there's we've got a new term for all of our elected officials.
Yep.
Hopefully, the first course of business will be reappointing a lot of the appointed positions.
And we'll get to that. We're going to try to get to that just to maybe hopefully sow the seed of interest to people that either are watching or people that are watching their friends or somebody that they might say, hey, you'd be good at this on this board or committee or commission. So,
Great.
All right. So the first thing I thought we would do is look at the ballot. There are two ballots on 2 pages, essentially the way they registered it online. I got this right from the website, and so I'll make it a little bit bigger. The first, and we'll do it in subsets because it just made it a little bit easier to do it that way. So we can talk about the top, or the first 2, I guess, positions were the moderator and the select board. So those are the ones that kind of fit on the screen. So in the moderator position, it was actually the turnout wasn't bad, for a rainy Tuesday. I thought it was actually pretty decent, 500 individuals. So that's actually a pretty decent turnout. It's been more than that for sure. I think the weather probably had an impact on it, but it certainly wasn't terrible. It wasn't one of the lowest ones for sure.
Right.
Mr. Miller was the incumbent. Mr. Frazier won by a little over 80 votes or so. And I don't know who all others in blank. That's an interesting people.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Mr. Miller is a long-term listener.
Yep.
And I just want to throw it out there that he really has done a great job for the town over his, I believe it's about 20 years here in Brimfield, and he also was involved in Sturbridge politics before that, including chairing the Sturbridge or the Tantasqua school project for the new building. The old new building.
Right.
Which, I mean, just an incredible tenure for civil service, and
Agree.
I think he fell victim to, this group, and he was fighting for what's best in town all the time, and
it didn't always jive with what they wanted.
Yeah, and he fell out of grace, and it's unfortunate because I really do think that for many years he has served the town tirelessly.
Agree. I think he was actually on the select board when I came on, and I learned a lot just from the experience that he had, just kind of the protocol, how things are run, why things are run a certain way. There was just a lot that I got just by working alongside, and so that was an educational thing that honestly I think was lacking in the last with the last new people coming in, because I don't think they got to see things work the way they're supposed to work. There are protocols, there are ways to do things, and they're there for a reason.
And I'll also say that as he was selectman and I was on the finance committee, as he was moderator and I was on the select board, there were things that he did that I didn't agree with.
Right.
And I'm sure there were things that you saw that
Oh,
you didn't
sure.
agree
Oh,
with.
yeah. We definitely went head to head on a few things. Oh,
Yeah.
no doubt.
And I'm sure there were things that he saw that, he didn't like that we were both saying.
Sure.
But he was a true gentleman, and after disagreements, he'd come up at the end of meetings and say, "Let's go get a beer."
Right.
Let's and what was said at the meeting
Yep.
was said at the meeting, and that was it was a healthy discussion that ended one way or the other, and then
Mm-hmm.
it didn't mean that you had to hold the grudge.
Right. Oh, I thought the other thing too is that his heart was in government. There's no doubt. I mean, and I say this in a good way. Like, he would literally break down talking about how proud he was of the direct impact that an individual can have at a town meeting, and it was on more than one occasion. He just overwhelmed them with the responsibility and the duty, and the strength and power that an individual has while at predominantly a town meeting, but also just to voice your opinion in town government. So absolutely.
So with that.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for all your time.
Absolutely, and congratulations again to the winners, to Mr. Frazier. I think he's got significant shoes to fill in how the moderator behaves, and basically the moderator is the person who guides the annual town meeting, and so there's a lot of responsibility there. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of education to the masses in case a question comes up, and so they've got to have the answers or be able to get the answers kind of toot sweet, in that kind of a situation. So there's a lot of responsibility, and I expect Mr. Frazier to do nothing more than to hone his skills in that set and join the moderators group or whatever. I forget if it's an association or something, municipality. Yeah, something. Anyways, and really, honestly, there's no doubt in my mind too that Mr. Miller would be a resource should it need to be.
And I hope he's used.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. The other on the top of the ballot is the select board. That was a one position. It was vacated by Ms. Collins, and so that position was won by Mr. Paul Vandal, and really, again, almost the same number virtually as the other race as well. So I thought that was interesting. I think Paul Vandal brings some experience, a considerable amount of experience, having been on the board before, having been a town employee through the Brimfield Fire Department. He is also a business owner and a local, and he's got.
And he works on he's on ZBA as well.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's nice to bring some zoning experience in. Mm-hmm. I don't think the board has really had that since Michelle Shea, who was the clerk for the zoning board. Right.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of information that comes from Michelle Shea was the planning board. Yeah. But I think the point is, notwithstanding that the experience of another board, when you come onto the select board, it just gives you that leg up. It just gives you a degree of knowledge about how things work that you don't otherwise have. And I have to say, I went in blind. I wasn't on a previous board when I came on, and so I had to learn right from the get-go, just listening. I mean, you just listen and then ask a question once in a while and hope that it wasn't as stupid as it sounds.
Yeah, usually was.
Yeah, well, that's
still is.
It's a lob to give people a chance to give me an easy answer. So that's what it was about.
Okay.
So Mr. Vandal, congratulations.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to his input on this board. I think it's going to be really good.
Me too. I'm very excited about it. Mr. Cordy, did well.
Actually, he did very well.
It's one I couldn't really push him because I didn't know him, and he hasn't been around, hasn't been involved. Hopefully, with the showing, it's certainly nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
Hopefully, we see more of you. Hopefully you can do some appointments this year and get involved in a committee.
Right.
And again, new faces are good.
100%. Yeah, I think it was very, it was good. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, who is this?" Well, you know what? I think that's really good. Shake it up a bit, get new faces, get new names inside the circle of government. I think it's a very important growing situation, like where the town has, all the new people that have the kids in the school are gonna grow up, and there's a lot of new blood. There's a lot of new energy. There's a lot of new ideas. I think that's a resource that if people have the time, I know it's very hard when you're got elementary school kids to get involved beyond rec, but you can certainly try, and I think planning board, zoning, select board, and next time finance is just so many,
any of the
conservation. There's just so many. Again, we'll go through a few of the openings that are available, and maybe just outline what committees and boards and commissions there are. People might even not know about them. So again, Mr. Cordy, I wouldn't say fade into the sunset. It would be really good to see an individual.
More of you and
continue.
Absolutely.
All right, let me load this one up. We go down to the Board of Assessors. This was, I think Lynn, was she a recumbent? It doesn't have the asterisk.
I believe she was
like an alternate or something.
She might have been an alternate first, and then she took over the vacant spot when Mr. Sullivan moved.
Right. Okay.
So she was an appointment
until for that duration. All right. So Lynn won with a very good showing, obviously. I don't know.
And it is interesting. You see a lot of blanks, and there are some offline discussions with different people, and the blanks are really wild to see that many, but at the same time, it was uncontested. So
I gotta say, like years ago, probably really before I was even involved in local government, if I saw an incumbent unopposed, I didn't always fill it in, and mainly for two reasons. One is they didn't need it to get it, and two is if I gave it just for the sake of giving it, and everybody does that, do they think they have more support than they do just because there was nobody running? And so there's a lot of
some psychology
there. Because there's a lot of voices in my head, and to try to balance that out. And so I did. I would sometimes leave it blank, just say, you know what, I'm not going to give this guy or girl or woman or man or whatever a vote just because they're the only one running. So what let it go. And if there was somebody else there, maybe I would have voted for that person.
Yep.
So if I knew the person, obviously I'd vote. And so I've changed that. I have to say I've changed it because I do think that an individual that's running, that's done a good job, I will vote for. If I don't think they're doing a good job, I won't. But for the most part, most of the time I will vote for somebody who's been in there and doing whatever they can for local government. I think they deserve a pat in the back.
Yeah.
So
Right.
So that was my little soapbox thing there.
And speaking of people who have been there and done it, Ms. Marino and Ms. Polak have both been long-term incumbents. Worked through West Nile, worked through COVID, worked through
Triple E.
Yeah.
Was a big, and West Nile too, to be honest.
Yeah,
we definitely had some public health issues in the last several years for sure. Absolutely, I think they're and they're continuing on that position is good. I think there's a lot of continuity. I do think that they bring a lot of experience and a lot of.
If I'm not
awareness.
mistaken, both of them are nurses. Even
I know. I know.
Ms. Marino is
definitely, and I don't actually.
Yeah.
If Magda, I wasn't sure about that.
Okay.
All right, let me go down to the next set on that first page. Elementary School Committee, which is a 3-year position. Eric, it looks like, was the incumbent, unopposed, and obviously one, and this is one of those situations where, years ago I would have probably not voted, but I did this year. But I mean, there are a lot of blanks, and I don't think
because you don't like them.
Yeah, well, that of course. I mean, now the blanks are like 151. I mean, honestly, I think it's people that are just rifling through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so yeah. Let's see, planning board, Uriah Smith.
Uriah Smith, he's new.
Okay.
I believe he's replacing his brother.
Oh.
Which again, this is a great screen to show. Younger. I mean, Eric is probably our age. Getting involved. He's
younger than me.
A smart guy.
You're younger than me.
I won't say anything.
Yeah, no, don't say a word.
No, but newer faces.
Right.
In town government.
Right.
Great to see, and for me, these are the types of guys that I would love to see on the select board ballot. The Billy Jeans, who ran for select board, then got involved with finance committee, has been on finance committee. She's shown that she's sticking with it, that she cares about the town.
Right.
She'd be great. Uriah Smith, I know his brother who was on here, Noah, I believe he's now in the military and serving there.
All right.
But their father works or volunteers for the planning board. So it's a good Brimfield family that, things are looking bright with
Nice.
when you've got,
Right.
new blood coming in.
Right. And hopefully this will, again, it'll be the signaling of a trend,
I hope so.
Of a trend of involvement and awareness of what's going on.
Yep.
We'll go to the top of what would be the next page or the next column. And this was the Cemetery Commission. Mr. Wales.
Speaking of new blood.
Yeah, Mr. Wales has been doing it for a bit.
And Zach.
And Zach, for that matter. Right.
Yeah.
Both.
So, this is where the new blood mixing with the old dedicated blood, could definitely have some repercussions.
Oh yeah.
And some good mixing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
These are two guys undisputedly have the best interest of Brimfield in every decision they make. We're lucky to have these types of guys. And going back to Uriah's father, Russ, and I mean obviously Dave.
Joy.
No.
Killian.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. There's definitely. I mean, it's really good to have a mix.
Oh yeah.
And it's really not good to wait until everybody's leaving and then get all new people in, because, especially with planning, actually with every board.
Yeah.
Because there are things that are in process. There are things that have history associated with them that makes it make more sense when you have that perspective of somebody they're like, this is what was tried before and this is why it's coming along this way, or especially with something like planning and with zoning and whatnot, where they have an idea of what the law is and what people have come forward about and why they're trying to do a variance or why they're trying to do a project in a particular way. So it really is important to kind of get the new blood on there while some seasoned veterans are there to kind of hold your hand and guide you through, because it makes a huge difference. Just a huge difference. Learning this stuff without anybody guiding you is damn near impossible. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Yep. Agreed.
Then next. You good with that?
So, yep.
Okay. All right, here we go.
So library trustees, Mike DeFalco, been there for a long time, doing great things with the roaming archivist, trying to get the Sherman Room and the town hall, all of our historical stuff in order. He's also on the historical commission.
Right.
Catherine Wickens, I'm not as familiar with. But again, I'm gonna guess that she may be newer, and I may be way off base.
Yeah, I don't know.
For the sake of the story.
Yeah, she got a lot of votes, so a lot of people probably know, so she may not be brand new, but I don't know. I mean, again, when you have two people and they're incumbents, a lot of people will some people will vote just that way. The Harding Fund trustee is a 3-year position, Anthony. But so that's looks like it's an incumbent position.
Yep. Yeah. Tony's been around for a long time.
Yep.
He's done a great job. He's another guy. Works for the cemetery commission, but I think also gives more time, and just another guy who loves the community.
Yep. And I can prove it on the next slide because he also went for the Lincoln Fund trustee
there it is.
position. So there he is. He's got his he's got basically on himself on a couple of different committees where they regulate where the funds go, the applications, and kind of pick and choose where this money's being used. So that's great, outstanding.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Tantasco District School Committee. This is the representative that goes to the regional school committee, basically.
Right.
So
the school committee is only the Broomfield Elementary.
Right. The previous one that we talked about.
Right.
Yeah. And so Palesnak Custins, Jennifer, is going. Looks like this again. She's an incumbent and is going to be representing Broomfield at the Tantasco table. So that's outstanding.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I believe she's younger. She's a little bit younger than us.
Yep.
Another great way to get involved and get involved with with her family and everything else. I'm gonna assume.
Right. Right.
But could be future in the select board or who knows, or just stay there and keep doing great work.
Right. So I think so. That's all the election results, the ballots,
yes.
And the numbers and whatnot, and it's all available online on the website, the town website. Not as up in front and center as I thought it should be.
Well, there's also something about I don't know when it's officially official, because and it might change after that point. But I think to be official, it has to go to the Attorney General. They've got to stamp it.
Gotcha. I gotcha. So it's the unofficial, official.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they posted them, and they posted the results under the town clerk's. If you click on that.
Yeah.
Still, it would have been nice to have it a little bit more up front on the front page, because it's such a big thing that just happened. So,
Yeah.
but it may be that's why it was kind of a. You see how you had to find it. You see what I mean? And, it wasn't like it was on the very front page.
Right.
But anyhow, it was there. It's there, and that was. Does it say?
It actually does say official results.
Official results. So there you go.
Okay.
So we thought what we would do is maybe look at some of the committees, commissions, and boards that are. And well, these are the ones that are posted. We got this right off the website. So
and this is fiscal FY 2023, which is just ending.
Right. So I figured we would look at it a little bit and just go over it. And so at the top, we've got ADA coordinator, outstanding job. I can't even see anybody doing it other than her, to be honest. So I'm hoping that she throws her hat into the ring because she's just that good. And I'm sure everybody would agree with that. She may need a break.
Yeah.
But
it's tough. That ADA coordinator, gets asked a lot of questions, right. And it's tough when the town doesn't have funds. We're making baby steps most years to become more ADA compliant.
It can be really frustrating when someone says, you got to be doing this, and we're trying to do that, and it just is like molasses. It's glacially fast. I mean, it just is so slow.
You look at small businesses that might get a complaint about being ADA incompliant. I was just over at Villa Sofia, and they installed the ramp.
Right.
And what do you do when you've got a new business in town that might have a non-compliant ramp?
Right.
Shut them down until they can do it.
Right.
Work with them, and it's a big balancing act legally and morally and
right. And she's a wealth of information. Even when we were talking about the gazebo and cobblestone versus this. Remember, she's like, you just can't do that. You just can't do some of the things that you might want to do because there are rules in place. So she's a wealth of information. She just knows so much. Yep. So that's, well, obviously we talked her up a little bit, so she can't leave. So we'll go through and just kind of name these. That there's an agricultural commission. You know, if you go on the website, you'll see that these positions, some of them are already
expired.
Yeah, they already expired. So you might want to look into, if you're at the town meeting, then you might have the book basically that has the description of all the meetings. Now, I think that is also available online, right?
I think that's what you see in here.
That's actually, well, no, I downloaded that as an Excel. Just kind of downloaded the sheet.
Yeah, and that's how it used to be.
But I don't think the book. I don't think it's the whole. I'm talking about like the annual report.
The town report.
Yeah. And so we'll look a little bit, but the annual town report does have a description, and it usually has a summary page of what each board has done over the last year. And so the description of what they do, and it used to have who is in it. It doesn't always have that now, I don't think, but they're trying to have it in one place. And I that's, you know, every time you turn around, you got to add somebody else and update it a little bit. It does take a little bit of work. But now that the town clerk's got some extra hours and some extra help, that I would expect that would probably be something I could get done with a little bit more, hopefully scrutiny, with a little bit more time devoted to it. So, all right, the Agricultural Commission,
if there are any boards that you know you would be interested in, even if you don't see a vacant area, you know, first of all, every year they do expire.
Right.
So you could write an email to selectboard@brimfieldma.org and just say, I'm interested in the Agricultural Commission.
Right.
And if there's a vacancy, if there's an expiring term and or a vacancy, they should be looking at all applicants and make a decision. Either, you know, hopefully they'd invite all the applicants in if it's contested,
right, and
talk about it.
You know, I remember when we when we were on the board, certainly when I was on the board, we would also recommend that person write a letter to the board or committee or commission, and that they also have some input, because if as a group they really want somebody, and we've got two individuals, and I don't personally know either one of them, you know, that should have some weight. You know what I mean? It shouldn't just be a select board member or two or three that wants somebody X on a board if the rest of the board has a different idea. And so I do think that there's a lot of communication that can happen to make the board more effective by talking to the sitting members of the board, at least the chair. Animal control officer, I think that's done at this point, right? Because aren't we doing they're doing the municipal sharing?
So that's the animal. Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah. I think so. So that may not be up to date.
Control officer would be somebody different, but the animal inspector, I think we still have to appoint to do the inspections.
Right. And so that's open, and I don't know if that's part of that deal.
No, I believe the animal, the barn inspector
is going to be separate.
Is separate.
Okay. I'm going to just move down a little bit. Actually, let me go up where it says cable, public access.
Well, these are all just employees.
Those are just
videographers and
yeah. Those, right. And then cemetery assistant, age-friendly disability commission. They're always that's a good one again to help out Eva and whatnot. It's an interesting commission too. I think there's a lot going on with it, I guess. There are grants, there are newer and newer rules and regulations about what compliance means, and so it is
right. And actually, I don't believe Eva has anything to do with this commission, but this commission can be tough on Eva because they're going to be the ones potentially who hear, from elderly or from disabled members of our community that you can't walk down North Main Street.
I thought that. Oh, this. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So
I agree. Yep. I think, and that's a committee that, again, when you look at a town that's got hundreds of years of history, and then you look and there aren't any sidewalks downtown. I mean, there's just a lot of things that make it almost non-compliant when you look at it.
Right.
As bucolic and rural as it is, there are some things that are probably inevitable that they've got to be addressed and at least be aware of.
Right.
Let's see, we've got Conservation Commission. That's another one that is sometimes a thankless job. It is an important job where they work really, really closely with planning and to try to make sure that again, the natural part of things is taken into consideration, and that the plans have plans within them that will be a little bit safer for the environment.
Right.
They also look out for wide open spaces and kind of make some suggestions sometimes about what they're about.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah,
They
it's
do
an
a lot.
interesting balancing act between conservation and development. Again, there's you want to be very, very strong with conserving all of our natural lands, but you also don't want to stifle development
Right.
and economy.
Right.
And it's a lot of these boards have always, and this is one of the biggest beefs that I've had over the past year, maybe two, has been, we've homogenized a lot of the boards that really shouldn't be homogenized. And you look at something like Conservation Commission, you've got a nice blend of people that I would say are conservationists, and you've also got developers.
Right.
And you've got businessmen. And it's a good mix, and it's amazing, to watch a board like this that won't always get along and can't always get along. They're fair with the residents, and they're people on all sides every week, every time they meet.
Right.
And it's a really nice working board, if nothing else. And a lot of these boards that aren't on here, but I know Conservation Commission, for one in particular, has, I think they're called adjunct or associate members.
Yes, associate members. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but actually this says no associates. So maybe that has changed.
Okay. Yeah, some of them will have where you can be an associate member where you can kind of stay in the periphery, and it's really as an educational tool. There are some boards, and obviously not this particular one, but there are some where they can be activated under the right circumstances.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have a quorum, like I believe the ZBA.
I think they did that.
Yeah. So if for whatever reason there's only one member present, you would be able to still vote if there were an adjunct or two or associate or two.
Yeah. So there are a few that way. You'll have to talk to the individuals just to make sure. I don't want to misspeak.
Right.
Board of Registrars doesn't look like there's anybody up this year. So when it says 2023, is it July
I believe,
of
yeah.
this year that it's up and they got to be reappointed? Okay. All right, that makes sense. And so so there is a position.
And I believe the Board of Registrars is an interesting one, and maybe someone can verify this. But I believe the Board of Registrars, one is appointed. Oh no, because they're 3-year terms.
No, I know which one you
The Bylaw Committee.
it's the bylaw committee where
Yes.
one is by the select board, one is by
The moderator,
and one
is down, or one is the third member is a vote from the
them.
two of them.
from them. Yeah. Council on Aging.
Okay,
Again,
there it is.
there it is again. Right, there's that one, and they have 5 members and 5 advisory. And I don't know what the role of the advisory in that particular instance would be. Do they ever have a voting?
Yeah, I don't know.
So we, again, if any of these tickle your fancy and you kind of want to say, I'm really interested in that, want to learn more about it, I would contact the chair and just plan out, ask, or go to a meeting. Meetings are posted. They have to be posted.
Right.
Building commissioner, so that's Mr. Cantel. He's the building inspector, building commissioner, zoning officer. It's multiple titles for that one position.
Right.
Let's see. I'll go up a little bit more. That's actually a job position. Building inspector, board of appeals. All right. These are mostly job positions down here, right? And then there's the bylaw committee we just talked about. I would like to see the bylaw committee start from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Review like controversial bylaws right off the bat. Maybe think about ways to make them make more sense or say what they're supposed to try to say. Look at them and say, why does it say this? I think it's really an interesting bylaw committee. Is an interesting committee that doesn't get utilized the way it should.
Right.
Usually what will happen is you won't hear from them until after the holidays. And then when people are talking about new bylaws, and then they'll send it to the bylaw committee. It'd be a lot easier on them if that could be started a lot earlier.
Oh yeah.
And if they could kind of make some of these bylaws that are a little bit antiquated, maybe reword them, bring them up to date. Whatnot. I think that would be a great job.
Yeah, and I think it would also help out town meeting.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Appointed, hired town official.
So this is the same. It's just so this is page 2 of the list.
Oh yeah. All right. So okay. So cultural council, unlimited members.
Cultural council.
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
and it's something. This is actually funded by the state. They get funding from the state.
Gotcha.
And as long as we have a cultural council, that I think by mandate it has to be unlimited. So anybody who wants to participate can.
Gotcha.
And they have a big pile of money every year, and they always contribute to the Concerts on the Common. And
I see. All right.
I think they might do some contributions to the town cable station. Yeah, and they have all these funds that any sort of cultural event. There was that event a couple of years ago. Somebody wanted to do a drum circle in the Common.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And he was going to get paid through the cultural council.
Oh, very cool.
And it's you can go after grants from them to fund any number of things.
That's interesting. All right, excellent. Electrical inspector assistant, finance committee clerk. So these are positions that are available that get filled by basically they're appointed positions. So a little bit different than some of the committees that we were talking about.
And the finance committee clerk isn't really appointed; she's hired.
Yeah,
and actually this is out of date now. It's Pat Plassey.
Oh yeah. Let's see, finance inspector. That's all.
So the flea market advisory board would be the next.
Yeah.
Real.
Right. So flea market advisory board, that's also been a little bit of a haymaker. It caused a lot of controversy for a little bit, just to try to figure out the makeup of the board and what constitutes what. Remember how to be a president, and so historically the police and the fire have had representation on it just because of semantics and logistics. It just made sense. And then there needed to be some residents and field owners and a ratio thereof. So, and that makes sense. This is really what I think they need to do, and what they do are sometimes different things. To be honest, I always thought that was again, I go back a little bit, but we started talking to field owners and kind of resurrecting this several years ago. just to try to get some of the communication, especially when we noticed that online markets were coming up, the marketplace was there, and what kind of an impediment would that be to the longevity of the Broomfield market? And I remember talking to Mr. Moriarty and others at the time, and looking at numbers and looking at it from a business sense. Extremely educational. How to better market themselves and the town for the future, because the future, what was it going to be looking like? Is it always going to look the way it is, and people are always going to like that, or is it going to have to be a blend, or is it what? And I still think the jury's out, to be honest. But that was just really good. We started doing it then, kind of went by the wayside a little bit, and then, well, to be honest, stuff hit the fan for a while there, and it made it so that it was absolutely not functional, and became a pariah to even talk about. It was a hot potato. It was a tough one. But it's really important to get this back and functional, and have it be part of a bigger community conversation.
Absolutely.
And they need to represent what they're representing, and be able to listen to other people's ideas, and not go off on a tangent and think that everybody's trying, just because you say, I wonder if that's being done the right way, oh my God, they're trying to kill the flea market. That's not the same thing as questioning why things are done a certain way. And that is, unfortunately, the way information gets put out there, which was absolutely disingenuous and was wrong.
Right. They are an advisory board, and they should advise the select board on,
information related to the flea market. I mean, and talk about it, not just be there to just say, no, don't ever touch that, or we don't. And from a resident standpoint, we don't want that. I mean, you don't want somebody that's in there that's just being ridiculous. This is like the UN. You gotta go with the idea that you're gonna have a conversation, and you're gonna have to listen, and because if you listen, you'll get a better idea of really what you're talking about. And so I'll leave that at that. But it does have some opportunities, but it also has some opportunities to be abused and not used correctly, and I don't like that. My soapbox again.
The emergency management director going on. Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
That's
Mr. Connor.
Mr. Connor.
So he's up this year.
He's up this year.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's good. I know he got involved with a couple of things over when trees were down and whatnot. Luckily, I mean, knock on wood, there hasn't been a major disaster, that we had to open
really
up the school or respond to. So we've been very lucky. And when you look at the weather, and you'll just look at this time of year, early June, when they go over, tornado happened 11 years ago or whatever, 11 years ago, that it just hits home, and then you look at the news and the tornadoes all over the place. The weather's changing, things could happen anytime, and so that position is important. I know, having spoken with him several times, is that anybody that has any logistics or a sense of community that wants to volunteer or be on a tree list, I'm sure that he would absolutely graciously accept that kind of help, especially before something happens.
Yeah, he hasn't done much. I know that he was getting caught in some headwinds with this board and with stuff, so he hasn't been as active as I was hoping he would, but I tend to think that might have something to do with.
Well, hopefully that will change now, especially since we've got a first responder on the board. Let's see, what do we got here? Emergency management assistants, 3 vacancies. So again, I didn't even see that when I said that, but if people want to volunteer, this would be a really good avenue to kind of, especially for preparation. Always better prepared rather than trying to work backwards.
And I'm not sure about the 3 vacancies. He has a CERT list, which is a community emergency response team. that is unlimited. And if people want to, be part of that, he'll take your name and he'll
Right.
say, anytime that we open up the shelter, we need you to hand out water. We need
Right.
somebody else to, triage something. We need, and he's got posts for everybody on the CERT team.
Right.
So anybody wants to volunteer.
Yeah, I'm sure 100% he'll not say no. He'll
Yep.
figure out a way to get you in. Highway administrative assistant, that's a position. Historical commission, the historical commission. 7 members, looks like there's at least 2 that are up this year. So that is another interesting one, looking at the history and trying to preserve such history and kind of give an idea of, why things were the way they were, and
Right.
and try to keep them that way to some extent, at least to preserve that the gist of what the town used to be.
Right, and they are a strong committee that helped get the gazebo in place.
Right.
They were instrumental in that. After the money was acquired by Cumbies, they came in and they helped make changes to the Cumberland Farms plan to make that a more historical looking building.
Mm-hmm.
They've they're kind of the protectors of our historic nature.
Right.
And sometimes that's very good in the case of Cumbies. Sometimes in the case of like the annex that needs to come down, there's pushback because it's a beautiful white colonial
With history, a
age
building with
or
history.
a
Yeah.
Civil War era, pre-Civil War.
Right.
Yeah, so they can be a detriment to development and to change.
Mhm.
But all in all, for our historic community,
Yeah. And I think with the
and they do work with everybody as
and
well.
they do. I mean, when you look at the gazebo and the plantings and just the presentation, I think they take a strong participation, I guess, in trying to make sure that things stay online the way it ought to look. I listened to a few of their meetings, and they just seem very level-headed, and they don't always agree.
Right.
I mean, which is really good for a meeting. You don't want everybody of the exact same vein, because it just plows through, and then everybody will look back and say, well, why did they do it that way? And that's why they did it that way. I think when you've got a mix of people, that are, we're trying to get some future. We love that tree, but that tree's dying. What tree can we put there? Well, maybe we should put something, and there's a lot of this and that. It's really interesting to see that, and they're strong-willed. They're actually really strong-willed, so it's good. It's good to see. They're a very energetic committee, commission, I guess. Sorry, finance committee. Actually, did I get? Yeah. So finance committee. Obviously, you've been on it. You probably know certainly more than me. The finance committee is critical for the running of this town. They are basically, as a group, the CFO of the town. They've got to make sure that there is enough money in the bank to pay the bills, that we run on a budget, that if there's an unforeseen budgetary overdraw, that there is a means of dealing with that. They look to the future about, a plan. We're going to need X, Y, and Z pieces of equipment because they've spoken with certain departments. They know that that's going to be in the works. And the closer you get to needing it, you got to get ready because it might break down and you might really need it. And so they do think very much like you do when you do your own budget in your own house. And I think they do an outstanding job on doing that.
Oh yeah, I will never say this enough, that board, again, they're another really well put together board. You've got a bunch of different backgrounds and beliefs and everything else. They get together, they'll have a good debate, they'll ask for public input, and you want to talk about why the town clerk needs an assistant and how many hours that that position needs, they'll talk about it all night long until there's a consensus.
Right.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see how long those meetings will last. And finance committee is one that, if you're on that committee, you can only be on that committee.
Right.
And by law, you cannot get any money for being on that committee.
Right.
You know, so they spend a lot of time, and it is purely a volunteer position.
Right. Right. And it's not always the most, I mean, if you like finance, it's great. It's not always the most energetic discussion. Sometimes it's like just, you know, you're just trying to figure out.
And it feels really bad when you've got a town employee who's, you know,
Right. They're hard.
who have, you know, we'll say Zach wants to come in. You know how hard he works every year, and he's asking for $500 more because the, you know, cost of, I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah.
Sharpening the
Blades.
the blades for the tree warden. You know, those have gone up. Oh, it's like, and you got to fight with them, or you got to take the position of no until you explain it to me.
Right.
You know, and it's like, you just want to give them that extra money because, you know, they work hard, and you know those costs are going up.
And they really work hard from January 1st, you know, right after the holidays until annual town meeting and during annual town meeting. You heard, if you were there, you saw that they had to change a lot of the numbers. They had to kind of work on the fly to kind of make sure that it all made sense, because their budget is what they put in. If you need that blade, you know, the amount of money to sharpen those blades, and you know about it in May, well, you damn well ought to tell them so they're ready and it's on the budget for the annual town meeting, rather than come out in mid-July and say, oh, by the way, I knew this, I just forgot about it. Because that screws up the budget. So it's really important for them to communicate with all the departments, and that's what they do. And this year, they were very active. There was just a lot going on with the treasurer office.
Yes.
There's a lot going on with adding an assistant to the assistant for the select board, an assistant to the town clerk. There's a lot of moving parts.
Hours. Oh yeah.
And it was like, okay, we get it. They had to listen through every one of those arguments, try to figure out what the best way to fund it, how to fund it, what they were looking for, and then make it happen with the budget.
Yep.
And they're good. They're good with that. That's a lot of work. But it's interesting. You do learn a lot about the town, by being on that committee. So yeah, I hope we didn't scare people away from it, but it's actually, for people that are into finance and have a knack for it, it's an extremely functional group, and it's an extremely important group for this town. So let me move this over a bit, and I'll get this up. Appointed, hired. So what? Insurance Advisory Committee.
So those are all employees, and that's kind of an internal committee. They were able to, get together and talk with finance committee primarily about the about increasing the percentage up to 60% for health insurance.
Yep.
And which is a great thing that this board did, and this isn't the most up to date.
No, it's not. A couple of these people aren't on it anymore.
Right.
So that needs to be updated. So I mean, and I think that's like you said, I think it's an intra town group where they're actually employees of the town that get together and can talk because they know the nuances of what they're talking about.
Right, and they're lobbying for the employees, right? And the insurance is the health insurance, all the employee perks.
Right.
So yeah. And then other than that, there's nothing else here really.
Two associates. I don't. Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
So, when I read the bylaw, this is where the bylaw committee needs to kind of go in and fix things a little bit, because in the bylaws, it's been a while since I've read it. There is a thing called the Planning Board of Appeals, and it's almost the same thing as the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I thought, honestly, when I researched before that, I just thought it was just the name change. It's like Board
Yeah.
of Selectmen, Select Board. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
it was just that. So I'm a little surprised to see it here, and that it probably just needs to be gotten rid of. If that's
Yeah.
the case, what I'm thinking it is. But
Yeah, so one interesting thing here, right in the middle on the right, what do you see there? There's police chief, and then there's, what is it?
Oh boy, yeah.
A chief procurement officer. Who is it? Because we did hear at town meeting that it's required by law that there's always a procurement officer.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Huh.
obviously this is not updated because we're seeing the police chief is not the police chief. That wasn't updated. And and then the procurement officer. So again, the procurement officer is the person that does the major outbidding and ordering for usually big expensive items that either have to go to bid or need to go through a certain procedural means of ordering and getting it to the town. And so we've had times when we didn't have one. There's no doubt in my mind.
Including at the start of last year.
Including this past year, right? Right now, I think Teresa Kofsky is the procurement officer. That just needs to be updated on the website,
Right.
just to be sure. But so yeah, anyhow, that I don't know why it's not updated, but and the police chief needs to be updated. I thought this was, I took it off the website today, and I'm a little bit disappointed that it isn't as accurate as it could be. The Memorial Day Committee, I think they just appointed new people right after Memorial Day in the last meeting, which I was a little surprised because that they didn't wait until. So I don't know, like if I can't remember who they appointed.
I believe it was Ms. Guevara.
Wasn't all of these?
No, it wasn't.
No, all right. So undoubtedly, a lot of people want to be on it year to year, and they'll probably send letters. But if you want to be part of the Memorial Day Committee, now would be the time to write a letter of interest.
Yeah.
And the Recreation Committee, that's another really important. That's not been updated either.
No.
The Rec Committee, and just watching. Honestly, I don't have any younger kids now in that level of sports, but to be honest, watching the notifications on Facebook, they're really energetic. They seem to have a lot going for them. They've got I know that the Jamboree and the playoffs in the baseball are coming up. I don't think I have that.
No.
I didn't save it. I don't think I've got it on my phone somewhere, but yeah, they're really. If you've got, even if you don't have kids in the elementary school, if you got the time and you want to participate, the Rec Committee is just one of those things that has effects that go well beyond the table that you have in a meeting at. I mean, these kids get to play sports. They get to remember these. It works out. I think it's very rewarding. The Rec Committee is a great one to get to participate.
And it says that there are 5 members. I don't know. I don't think it has been updated. But even if you're number 6, they're not going to push you away from the table.
Right.
There's so
They'll
much going on.
find something for you to help out doing, because there's always some need for sure.
Yep.
Municipal Facilities Building Committee.
This is all wrong.
Let's just.
We won't even go there.
We won't even. Yeah, this hasn't been updated. Selectmen, again, it should be Board of Selectmen. Select Board rather, not Selectmen. The shared clerk. I guess I'm just gonna leave these because
that's all fine.
This is all a little bit of a mess. So that needs to be updated. And I should have edited. I don't know. I didn't have time to edit this, but this just needs to be edited and kind of brought up to.
But I hope this doesn't mean Marie is up this year. I don't know if that's fiscal.
Town accountant 24. I don't know. I know the budget got. I think her budget got bumped a little bit for hours and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think that was in anticipation of her staying. So I'll leave that. I think that's the case. Town account clerk.
Yeah. We can just go right through there.
Yeah. All right. Oh
yeah.
let's see here. Let me go on here and go up.
Yeah.
Park. Yeah. So yeah, these. So we'll go down to town council. All right.
You
So-
have to go there.
So yeah, we don't need. So this hasn't been updated in a bit. Let's just say that. And we're gonna go down to treasure collector. The veterans agent is
Up this year.
up this year. All right. So if somebody were interested in that, certainly put your a letter of intent, and that would go right to the board, select board who makes the nomination. Yeah, the treasurer collector stuff is done. We're looking if anybody knows a treasurer collector that wants to work in a rural town, or I was almost anyhow. I'm thinking of that kind of a position, especially with rural communities having a difficult time of being able to support it. It'd be interesting to see if we could get that through a regional kind of grant. You know what I mean? And talk with the state. I know it's hard, but if you don't find anybody, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
And what we've come across is that there's more hours. You know, it wouldn't be much savings because
No, I'm not even saying saving. I'm just saying a body. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Right?
But
If you don't have a body, then you're outsourcing it to a consultant, which
but if Mr. Kincaid was taking 40 hours of work,
right.
you know, how can you regionalize it? You know, knowing that
It takes that much work.
Brookfield's gonna also need 40 hours.
Yeah, but if you regionalize it to a
I guess
group,
if you
know
have
what I
one
mean?
really good guy up top with a decent support
Oversight.
staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost how you would have to do it. Like you almost have a treasury group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they can do a lot of it remote nowadays. You know what I mean? And so I think that there are avenues. I mean, again, just thinking. I hate to say thinking outside the box because it's been overused, but in reality it is. I mean, it's thinking like, okay, what's worked in the past is not working because they're not budgeting down the doors, you know. But we also kind of created a
So does
Creative.
good employee environments.
right.
You know.
Yep, exactly. All right, trail committee. Yeah, this has
Another very active.
Yeah, really active, great group. They've got a lot of grant money coming in. They've done a lot of work on improving trails and getting these to connect with trails of neighboring communities. This obviously is not updated, but anybody who's interested in that, I am sure that they would love
Add more.
somebody. Yeah, absolutely. Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Oh, that may be updated. That looks like it was updated. So I don't know.
They've been together for a while. Although they did already appoint Chet Jambora as a full member, I believe.
Oh yeah, that just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Whatever. The last meeting.
Yeah, I don't think he got reappointed as an associate.
I think you're right. Okay. And and I think keep on doing that.
And that, I think, does it.
That is it. All right, I'm going to write. So
there's-
appointments must be requested in writing through the selectman's office or the select board's office
Right?
in June of each year. So,
So they can be reappointed. I believe the appointments should take place at the next meeting, you know, so which should be Monday. So if anybody's interested in any of these positions,
right,
send an email between now and Thursday to get on the agenda.
right.
We can't use that anymore.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
We need to find a new ending.
I'll have to.
You know, it's
I'll have to delete it.
yeah, with the retirement of Ms. Collins.
Yeah.
You know, she's no
It's
longer on the board, and hopefully the tone of the board will change so that they don't
right.
consider any residents their children.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's kind of what we wanted. We wanted about an hour or so, and we weren't going to try. We're going to try not to go off on too many tangents just yet.
We did fairly well.
I think we did pretty well. The next select board meeting, do you know when that is?
I don't know if it's going to be Monday or the following Monday. I think to be back on regular schedule, it shouldn't be this Monday, should it?
Well, we had Juneteenth, but was that a regular scheduled meeting? I don't think so, because that was going to be voting day as well.
Right.
So, we could
I don't
probably, well,
Yeah, we'll find out.
yep, we'll find out, yeah. So, well, usually, all right, so what I would recommend, anybody who's watched this for the first time, go to the website and go to the calendar, and you can go to the departments or the boards and whatnot that you want to follow, and you can get an email of their agenda for the next meeting.
Oh, the last select board meeting was the town meeting, which was the 12th.
That's not the, oh, is that when it was scheduled?
Yeah,
So they should have one next week then.
so they should have one next week.
I don't see it on the board.
Oh, but actually, there was also a select board meeting on the 5th.
So, well, the 12th as a town meeting is not a select board meeting.
Right. So
That's a moderator meeting. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the 5th, the 19th, it should have been this past week. So
Right.
I don't know if they're going to take a week off and go. Now, I will say that when there was a board change a couple years ago, and I was the chair, we were asked to reorganize 2 days after the meeting. You remember? You were away. Away.
I was chair. You were vice chair.
I was vice chair. You were chair.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But I was out of the country.
Yeah, and I got a call day after the day after I think the election. They
Yeah.
wanted a reorganization meeting on Thursday because the law said to do it Thursday. I loved it, but it was absolutely not true, and I got precedent to show it. But I was really being pushed to have that. That was very interesting.
Oh yeah.
So I think that a lot of people, if they have the time and are really interested in, this will be a really good meeting to go to, the next select board meeting, because what happens at that meeting is that there is a restructuring, there is a reorganization, as they call it, and so that the previous chair basically is no longer the chair, and so you have to nominate a chair and a vice chair, and there's a vote on it and whatnot, and that has to happen before the meeting starts. And
Well,
so
it's the first item.
it's
on
the first
agenda.
item on the agenda, right, and the agenda is already, it will be made by the previous chair coming in. So that will be an interesting one. I think it will be. Anyways, maybe it won't be.
Yeah.
It might be boring, but
There are some rumors out there of what's going to happen, and I'll leave them as rumors.
yeah, there you go.
But we'll see. Yeah, nobody knows until it happens.
Exactly.
And yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that'll be it. We'll have a. I think we'll have one. A meet.
Next
We'll go
Wednesday.
on air next Wednesday. That's our plan. We'll have one on next Wednesday, and we will see everybody next week.
Have a great week.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.